Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our workshop. My name is Ania Bobadilla, and I'm part of Gabe's team. Today, I, along with my colleague Gande, will be here supporting with any questions and monitoring the chat throughout the session. I am really excited now to introduce our two presenters, Samia Shoman and Nina Finci. For this workshop, thank you so much and have a wonderful session. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing so that our presenters can share. There.
All right, let me get our slides up and let me present. Okay, can everyone see that? All right,
Yes.
So we're excited to be back at CABE this year. We all know, why we missed last year, and feel like it was kind of a momentous that we got chosen for this day, because we actually, after a little more than a year, welcomed our students back on campus today for the first time. So we were super excited about that. We'd love to know who you all are. So if in the chat, you can put in, your name, your role, your school district, and why you chose that our session. I'm Samia Shoman. I'm the Director of English Learner and Academic Support Programs in the San Mateo Union High School District, and am the co-founder of the Bridge Program with Nina Finci. Nina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. My name is Nina Finci. I teach ELD at Bridge and started the program with Samia, and I'm also the EL coordinator for our district. So glad you're with us. There's a bit.ly on top of this screen and the next screen if you'd like to follow along as we go through our presentation.
So in this session, we're hoping to kind of take you through how we started our program, why we started it, who it serves, and hear about our successes and challenges. This is our 4th year with a Bridge program in our district. I would be remiss if I did not stop to take a second and recognize that we are on occupied Ohlone land here in San Mateo. It's very important for me to recognize that and do land acknowledgement. My family comes from occupied Palestine, and so I definitely, feel connection with our indigenous populations here.
And this is a little bit about the Bridge program and our context and why we started the program. So our district, San Mateo Union High School District, is comprised of 6 comprehensive and 1 continuation high school with full ELD programs at 3 sites. A district has a policy to allow for 1 extra year to graduate if a student brings some credits from their native country and continues to be on track with grades and attendance. However, if a student doesn't have any high school credits and arrives as a junior, they are automatically transferred to adult school after a student turns 18. It's been our experience that those who are transferred to adult school do not persist or never show up. So this is one of the reasons that we had in 2013, 2014, our district experienced a large influx of Central American unaccompanied minors who entered our district. This impacted class sizes at the comprehensive sites and left teachers wondering how to best serve older students with interrupted formal education. We convened a newcomer task force comprised of teachers, counselors, administrators, and support personnel to brainstorm ways to best address these students, their needs, and with all the changes that were going on. Out of the newcomer task force came a recommendation to find better ways to serve this population, which is how the idea of Bridge was born. Our unique population, our students are 16 to 17 years old. They're predominantly male. They come with interrupted formal education, often come here unaccompanied, are living with caretaker other than their parents. They are Central American, predominantly from Guatemala, with a few El Salvadorians. Data over time has trended up until the pandemic and spiked high in fall of 2019. And our student needs are unique in that they often need to work and they need a lot of social emotional support. Next slide, please.
Okay. So as Dana said, we had a huge spike in the fall, and who knows what's, we anticipate, depending on what happens, we know the numbers in the thousands of unaccompanied minors at the border right now. But when Bridge was started, we were really trying to think about, how do we create educational persistence among a group who has not been in school, right, for a while. How do we get kind of creative with what we're doing so we can serve their needs and hopefully give them a path forward? So the vision of our program is grounded in Lakesh pedagogy. Some of you may be familiar with this poem. And we teach this poem. We recite it every day, almost, with our kids, especially in our advisory class that we run. And we really want to think about grounding and practicing in Lakesh, both from student to student, staff to student, staff to staff. We've had a lot of challenges this year, kind of due to the pandemic and some personal challenges that our staff has been through. And, it's always like, oh, thank you, thank you for the help. Thank you for the support. And I was saying, we don't only practice in Lakesh and teach this to our kids, we anchor it as a community, and it really shows in the way our students show up for one another. So what we do is when a student comes into our district and they are placed in the 11th or 12th grade, and they have no transcript, we have a kind of testing process that our students go through. And during that time, when they do their interview with our testing coordinator and they are recognized as being a student with interrupted formal education and coming up in with no credits, we do offer a placement in our Bridge program. No student is forced into Bridge. They always have an option of attending one of our comprehensive high schools. We have 3 that have full ELD 1, 2, and 3 programs. But if they do choose Bridge because we feel like we can meet their needs and get them on a kind of a path into our adult school, then they are enrolled in Peninsula High School, which is our alternative and continuation school. But because Peninsula used to be in San Bruno, now it's in Burlingame, and kids are kind of locked in when they get there and when they leave, we actually have a satellite campus on our adult school. So they are enrolled as high school students, and they can access kind of all of our various programs, lunch program and all those things, but they take classes at the adult school. It's very central to where most of them live. It's right next door to one of our biggest high schools and our district office. It's a half-day program. Our students attend from 8:30 to 12:30, which gives them that flexibility to work. A lot of our students are working. And so one of the things that we used to find, or kind of the task force found, is students wouldn't come to school. And now we can kind of offer that flexibility. We have a wellness counselor who is bilingual that works with our students. And we also have a family engagement coordinator who's situated, we have them at all of our sites, but she's situated at the district office and specifically serves our Bridge kids. And then we do a lot of supplemental programming that we'll talk about later, whether that's kind of art, guest speakers. We had a soccer team. Our staffing, we have 2 teachers. So Nina serves as our EL coordinator and our ELD teacher. And then we have a teacher that teaches math and academic language development. She's new this year, not to teaching newcomers. We finally, I'm not going to lie, in full transparency, that second, because it's not always a full-time position, was really hard to find someone. We've shared with a site, then we had someone else, and then they didn't work out. So we found a unicorn this year, and she's been really great. We have an instructional aide, also bilingual. And then I teach an advisory class. I co-teach that with a staff member that works at one of our sites as an EL specialist, but not full-time. And we're also bilingual. So that's kind of the structure and how the program actually works. I'm going to pass it to Nina, who will talk a little bit more in detail around what we do.
Sure. So definitely creating our program has taken a lot of out of the box thinking and being creative and being an alternative to a comprehensive site. So our class offerings have changed over time. We always knew that we really want a strong ELD program and a strong basic math class. Those are the core components of our program. We've always had those. But over the years, we've experimented with other classes. For example, Spanish for native speakers, a health class, various electives. And then this year, we are offering ELD, math, academic language development, and the advisory class. We had lots of successes over the last 4 years. We feel that our students are placed correctly. We always offer students who fit the criteria an option. Do they want to come to Bridge for half a day, or do they want to go to a comprehensive? So they self-elect into our program. We strongly believe that our students' basic needs have to be met before they can learn. And so we partner with a neighboring high school for free and reduced lunch program. We provide students with free bus passes. They receive school supplies and backpacks. They have access to a monthly health van. They have vision exams as needed. So we really believe in this strongly and have had lots of success partnering with our district and outside agencies to provide our students with that. We're also very flexible in that our half-day schedule allows students to work in the afternoons and the evenings. If the students are absent, we welcome them back whenever they're ready, and really always checking on them to make sure they're okay if they don't show up for a few days. As Samia mentioned, with this in Lakesh pedagogy, we really want to foster community and belonging for our students, as this is their first time in a U.S. school and dealing with adults who, are perhaps more welcoming than the adults they met when they first came into this country. So we really built the strong community and shower our students with lots of love. We have transitioned several cohorts to the adult school, and they have persisted, which is great data for us, as well as day testing out of the beginning level ELD and into intermediate level where they can access more coursework. Also during the pandemic, our students have been supported in various ways through our family engagement coordinator, our wellness counselor, and the Peace Pantry grocery delivery. We've been able to support families with their food assistance, and then we are able to equip all our students with computers and hotspots that they needed in distance learning. And today was our first day back, so super great to see everybody in person. Learning opportunities, we want to continue as much as we can to learn more about trauma-informed practices, social emotional learning, and differentiating for mixed abilities, both in English and math. And then we want to continue to articulate with adult school so that our students can have pathways after Bridge, whether it's community college or career. Next slide, please.
When you covered this, I think you'll talk about some of the curriculum, but there's some questions around kind of what curriculum we're using and kind of how we're scaffolding. Thanks.
Okay, great. Last year when we presented, we had the curriculum as something that we were still looking for. I can tell you that most of our curriculum is teacher created, teacher developed, both by myself and the math teacher, advisory or whatever other class we've had. It's heavily skill-based and focusing on 4 domains of language. It is more life skills focused. So I would say more designated ELD focused, and always looking for ways to bridge the gap between school and workplace, right? So giving students those basic survival skills so they can feel confident out in the world looking for a job and so on. Through this year, ironically, due to distance learning, we've been able to find some really awesome programs and are going to continue to use them. So one I highly recommend, it's called Vista Get Ready and Vista Get Reading. That's listed here on the slide. It's both a physical textbook, a student book, as well as a really robust online program. And so that's been, I found that to be very appropriate for high school students with interrupted formal education, because that was a very, every year at CABE, I would look for high school materials and I would find a lots of elementary stuff. They're great, but I just didn't feel it was appropriate. So Vista is one. The other one we adopted this year with great success is Rosetta Stone. Very expensive, but well worth it. Students are finding that it's really helping their survival English, their real life English. And then fun things like Quizlet, Flipgrid, iExcel that can be used both synchronously and asynchronously. So all those things we're continuing to use as we transition back in the classroom. Our instructional aid has been phenomenal. We've had other bilingual volunteers coming into our classes to help us out. And because of a range of student abilities in both in their schooling or perhaps coming in with knowing an indigenous language other than Spanish, we've had to kind of find ways of supporting them. So through small groups or through different configurations in the classroom. Collaborations are a big part of our program. We work with Jobs for Youth, 826 Valencia, which is a writing program, FLY program, bringing in lots of information about what they need to know in the community. We will have a rape and trauma services come in the spring, because I mentioned Peace Pantry, and lots of other collaborations with Comprehensive High School, coming into the culinary class to cook something from Guatemala and then cook something from California. So ways for our students to also bridge that cultural gap as well. And then we support our students by making sure that they transition with a cohort of students at Bridge so that they're placed, if possible, in classes together. And also they have an adult school sort of buddy to help them just kind of learn that new system of schooling. And then, as I mentioned in previous slide, really working on finding ways for students to continue their education, whether they want to get a GED or go into community college or a technical career program. That is something that we continue to look for. And so that's something that we're currently focused on. I would love to address any more specific questions about the curriculum at the end, since we have such a short time, if you don't mind us kind of going through everything, and then I'll be able to answer some more specific questions later. If you go to next slide, please. Here, just a moment to pause. This is some student work, a paragraph on your left, and then a poem on your right. We'll just pause for a few minutes if you'd like to read one of those poems or click through some of the virtual work that I linked here on the slide to get to know our students and their skill set a little bit better. So go ahead and take about 2 minutes to explore some of these links.
I don't think these are actually clickable links here, are they?
Not on the shared screen, but in the chat, you can find our presentation. Thank you, Candy. She just posted our slideshow. So if you go there, you'll be able to click on these. They can be found on slide 7. Thank you for that question.
All right. Are you good if I move on now, Nina?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's why we wanted you to have our slides so that you can come back to them at a later time. There'll be a few more links towards the end as well. Go ahead, Samia.
And I will say, some of these were created at 826 Valencia. If any of you are in the Bay Area, that's in San Francisco, and they bring in kind of tutors to help students through some kind of project, right? And they wrote these and they created some podcasts. And so it's really cool to have some of these community collaborations. And I'd shout Nina out on that because she's done a lot of that work. One of the things that makes our program so successful is our ability to personalize. And I know, there's a lot of there were a few questions in the chat around funding. Like, this is a district, we're very lucky. This is a district funded program. If our students weren't at Bridge, they'd be sitting at one of our comprehensive sites, or missing a lot of school, right? Which is what the data showed us before, because they need that flexibility often to work or help families. So whether they're at Bridge as a student in Peninsula, or they were a student, they'd have to be paying staffing. Our board loves this program and is super supportive and understands. In our district, we serve, right, our Bridge kids, which we've tried to describe to you kind of their characteristics, and we serve kids, you know, in all transparency, that are driving Teslas to school as soon as they get a driver's license, and everything in between. So we serve really a wide range of students. I'm sure you all may know, right? Our students have experienced all various levels of trauma. They're coming predominantly from Central America. Last year, almost 90% of our students specifically came from Guatemala. They've experienced detention, long journeys. The vast majority of our kids are coming unaccompanied. And so wellness support, right? It's mandatory. Like, they really need that. We're lucky to have a wellness counselor who's not only bilingual, but also came from Guatemala and kind of understands, you know, the language and the culture and what our students have been through. One of the biggest things I found as, you know, the director of the program is the people matter, who you have. And again, in full transparency, we've had some people where they're not good fits, right? And now we kind of took us 4 years, but I am lucky to say I have a dream team to work with. But that's taken support from the manager of mental health and wellness to really give us someone to work with our program. Having the family engagement coordinator this year, having an advisory where we can try to take some of the nuances off the teachers around, you know, Miss, I need this, or I have this paper, I have this appointment, can you help me? So our staff has been amazing, and our adult school staff has been really welcoming. They serve, you know, an adult population, and we had high school kids walking around, and they're so welcoming and inviting us to like game days they have, or, you know, Christmas events they have. And so that has been really cool. And then we've done a ton of enrichment activities pre-COVID. My family engagement coordinator used to be like a arts in action, and so she loved doing art with kids. We started a soccer team. Like, these are my boys over here. We're first place, although I never got a trophy. And our kids loved that. We competed against ELD teams from the other high schools. We recognize that our kids aren't coming out of clubs. They don't have a ton of money to pay all those kinds of fees. They don't know how to navigate like the high school, the tryouts, and communicating with coaches. They just got here. And so our team played kind of the 3 teams that were made in the other high schools. And we actually partnered with our police activities league to do that. They funded a lot of it. And so that was kind of something cool. We brought in last year a yoga and mindfulness teacher. She was super fun, loved our kids. And then we've done kind of some of the field trips and experiences that Nina's talked about. We are a little, you know, very on the enthusiastic side and like to spoil our kids because we feel like they haven't had a lot of opportunities that kids here have had. So, you know, and we're very lucky. Last year we had a huge holiday fiesta with our superintendent even dressed up as Santa, and he had a good time. They were, you know, dancing and singing and photo taking, and our staff in both the district office and around from our schools contributed to buying gifts for kids that they chose. During the pandemic, our students were really hit hard. A lot of them lost jobs. So the picture you see is of one of our kids, and every Friday we have a peace pantry. We partnered with Hillsdale High School, which is another school in our district that I used to teach at before I came to the district office. And what we partnered with Samaritan House. So every Friday we load up hundreds of boxes onto a district truck with the transportation guys. We take it to Hillsdale. We have raised through the Hillsdale Foundation and then kind of just family friends who want to support our students money. You see that bag where it says at Mi Rancho Market. So not only do they get the stuff from Samaritan House, they get a bag of fresh. Sometimes it's fresh groceries, fruits and vegetables. Sometimes it's like laundry detergent and those kinds of things, they get that every Friday if they want it. In terms of, you know, our wish list, yeah, our kids are adults, right? Regardless, even if they're coming, you know, and they're 16, almost 17, or 17 turning 18. A lot of the kids we have right now is 18. They want that high school we want, and they want kind of that high school experience, right? They hear about dances and rallies and athletics. And we started to be able to give them that last year. With the athletics, and then with one of our high schools allowing our students to come. They used to have like a Ritmo Latino dance, maybe it was 2 years ago now, and allowing our kids to attend that. So we're really trying to kind of attend to both the academic, the social, emotional, and the kind of fun that high school is supposed to be. You can see some pictures of some of the class projects we've done and some of our parties, some of the art, another poem. You know, the top right are little worry dolls they had made with our wellness counselor. And then I'm gonna move on. Nina, do you want to talk about some of our little activities?
Yeah, so here you see one of our students in a very fancy kitchen culinary class. Then you see a robotics after school program. We had that 1 year. Again, we play off of whatever talents our teacher brings. So this one teacher was into robotics. Great, let's do robotics. Then you see a field trip to San Francisco State University. Then our soccer team, we go to the public library every year. Students get their library cards. And then the last picture is us at Facebook. We made that an annual trip. So much fun, pre-COVID.
Yeah. Okay, so looking kind of moving forward, you know, in terms of, yes, we're 4 years in, but we are constantly having to think about like scheduling and staffing, right? We're constantly refining our schedule in terms of how long are classes, what are our classes, who can we hire? Trying to add electives. We're hoping, you know, at some point that our continuation high school will, right now, they're kind of equipped to serve ELD 3 students, but, you know, our students are at level 1, some moving into level 2 if they've been with us for a while and they excel rapidly. So we would love to give them the option, right, to be able to access electives. And some have. San Mateo High School is next door, so some have taken a PE or an art at one of the other high schools. We're actually looking in our district, we're looking to add a social worker, and we feel like that would help us with some of our cases where, you know, since the pandemic, again, in full transparency, right, we're here so we all learn from each other. We have a few students, like, we haven't been able to get them to attend or to log on. Like, there's a lot going on there. And we've tried, and we visited homes, and we've talked, and we, you know, having a social worker, we feel like could really help that. You know, community collaborations. We're always looking to collaborate with our community. You know, I put flexible monetary resources because sometimes kids do need something, whatever, glasses. And yes, we have Rotary and we have a way we can give them a voucher, but that can take a long time, right? We have a student this year who unfortunately, he lost his dad, and he was here only with his dad, and he wanted to send him back to Guatemala to be buried. You know, his mom and sisters were there. So we were able to do a GoFundMe, you know, for that and support him so he didn't have to worry about it. But sometimes our students have needs for like little things that we can eventually get, but it's just to cut down, you know, on the time. And then we want to build pathways, right? We really want to think about, I have a vision for a graduation pathway for our kid using our alternative school, but I'm sure you all know the politics of schools and districts. I got to get everyone else to see that too. Our adult school path, we feel good about that. Our goal and bridge is to get our kids prepared so when they're ready to transition, they're not at the beginning levels. And we've been really successful. Nina's pretty extraordinary ELD teacher. And now, you know, with our teacher who's teaching math and academic language development, her ability to infuse language while still teaching math is really strong. I got to observe her teaching kids about ratios and changing recipes while in her kitchen cooking pupusas. And our kids were all about it. And what if I need to make this many? And what if I need to make this many? And what is, so it was pretty cool. So we feel good about our adult school pathway. And then a community college, you know, our kids need to be here, right, studying for 3 years so that they can access free community college. Sometimes that's also a barrier, but adult school counts as part of that time. So we hold on to our kids as long as they want to stay with us. You know, most of the time when they do turn 18 and they've been with us for a year, we start the conversation. Like, you can stay a little longer, but you know, they become ready to move on.
So here on the slide, you will find our brochure. This will be helpful in your planning. We have it on our district website. We have it to show students and their families to see whether their program, you know, suits their needs. It also tells you the criteria for our program. Second link is local newspaper did an article on us when we did a field trip of a construction site. It was actually our new district office that was being built, so they wrote about us. And then we'd love to show you our video. We received a Kent Award in 2020 for innovation. It's a bit too long for today, but if you want to see a few of our students and a few other staff members, it's a wonderful video. It may make you cry. It's just really well done, and we're super proud of that. As we go to our next slide, next and last slide, we're just so proud of our students, and we hope to continue to support newcomers who come into our district in finding belonging, both in school and in the community, and help them build their futures in this country. Here you have us at Instagram, which is in the same location as Facebook, and our emails. So please, since we don't have too much time for questions, if we don't get to your question, definitely feel free to email us and we'll get back to you.
I do want to say, because this picture, Nina, I see Sergio and Marvin. So the kid in the back circle in the California sweatshirt, he's the tallest one, and the kid that I think would be on your left with the kind of green lanyard. Those kids had started at a comprehensive high school. They attended for a month, and their school felt like, you know, they're old, they don't have credits, so we'll refer them to Bridge. They were with us our first year. And during that year, they kept talking about, you know, high school, and they were making rapid progress. And I really want to graduate. I'm like, you know what? We're going to make this happen with what you had from that semester. And so we sent them back to San Mateo High School. They graduated last year. And so sometimes you have those kids, right? And, you know, other kids who I'm like, are you sure you don't have a transcript? I don't even know what a transcript is, miss. I'm like, let me show you a picture. You know, and so we've had 2 kids who have, oh yeah, I think I have that, right? Sometimes it's sad because I'm like, no, this is middle school, we can't take that. But sometimes they just don't know. And I'm like, you're going to comprehensive high school, you can graduate. And so, yes, I noticed some chat around visiting. We've had lots of visitors from other districts who have come and been able to kind of start this, right? We are all facing this issue with kind of newcomer, you know, students who are SIFE or SLIFE, whatever your acronym is. So in it together, and happy to share whatever we can, and take ideas if you have some, please. So we'll stop there and answer questions. I think we have 7 minutes. Let me stop sharing. And then
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat and we can read it out loud.
You indicated that most of the SIFEs are boys. What do you do in the case of girls, and how do you handle their cohort?
Yeah, sorry, we do actually have girls too. We had more this last year than we've ever had before. Yeah, I don't know if you can even see the picture behind Nina, but would you say, Nina, this year we're like 60-40?
Actually, lots of girls this year. Yeah, there were a few years there where it was just heavily boys, but it's the things have shifted a little bit. So it's, yeah, 60-40, almost 50-50. So yeah, they're together. It's just a little bit different, right? You know, just different energy. But yeah, they're together.
Did you do the same activities for both cohorts?
Absolutely, yeah. We separate the students only by English and math proficiency. So we assess them as they come in, and then based on that, we either put in what we call Group A, sort of your newcomers, completely new to English, and Group B, been here a while, you know, can have some basic English, but they're not, we wouldn't say they're brand new newcomers. So those are the only separations we make.
Yeah, which answers, I think, the last question, which is why would they separate? Yeah, we don't separate them. I think, Nina, there's a question around IELT and if you feel like it's effective.
Yeah, not for this. We tried it, and I would say I do not think it's appropriate for newcomers. I think intermediate ELD would be more appropriate for IELT.
How do you address teacher credentialing?
We have a single subject teaching credentials, just like any other teacher in our high school district. So I have a single subject in English and a CLAD, and then my colleague has her single subject in math.
Yeah, and she teaches the academic language development, which is an elective in our district. So that covers a credential. And I also saw in the chat, do we have parenting students? We actually have one who, because she was about to be, she's brand new parent, like 2 weeks, Nina, do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
She actually came from one of our comprehensive high schools and wasn't attending in the fall, just distance learning, and they had pods going. And we actually had her brother and so Ray had a conversation with the brother, like, are you okay with your sister, you know, coming? And he's like, absolutely. And she's been attending all the time. She just recently had her baby girl and is, you know, ready to almost start logging back on. So we feel like we can also support the comprehensives when they have those situations with students who aren't making progress or progress towards graduation. And you know what? If she finishes, if she's young enough, you know, as an 11th grader, we give students an extra year in our district to try to meet graduation requirements. It's a kind of case where it's like she needed that for what's going on right now and being in the pandemic. She might go back, right, if she chooses to the comprehensive. But if she feels like her needs are being met because she's on a reduced day and it allows her to do both, then of course, you know, we'd love to keep her.
Is the content primarily taught in Spanish, English, or both, or mixtured?
Great question. I try to speak exclusively English. I do have to, sometimes with that Group A, I will say the directions in Spanish. But when it comes to social emotional learning or a little bit more topics that, you know, a little bit more intimate and perhaps students don't have the language yet, we will then, like Samia and her advisory class with her co-teacher, they would do those in Spanish. So it really depends, but for instruction of, you know, subject areas, we stick to English. In fact, our math teacher does not speak Spanish. So she does have an instructional aide who does, but we want to expose them to as much English as we can.
Yeah. And our students want it, like feedback that we've asked them, right, is like English. I want to learn English, more English. I will say when we do have special presentations, so like we have a program called Fly right now. It's Fresh Lines for Youth Leadership. They do presentations on, right, what your rights are as a minor or an adult, right, in high school and interacting, whatever, immigration, police. They talk about rules for dealing, you know, alcohol, drugs, all of those kinds of things. All of that right now is being done in our advisory class and being done through Spanish.
Thank you.
I'd like to share with you, maybe you want to reach out to the Mexican consulate or Guatemala consulate to get resources for them. I know they always had available things available for students, and they also have parent workshops that will benefit the whole family. They do the food bank, I mean, the flu shots, you name it. So maybe that'll be a good resource. And thank you, a very good presentation. You guys did a magnificent work with the newcomers. They're in my heart. I had no more students at school. They already graduated from college, but I really love, the newcomers, English learners, and I like to advocate for them. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Ah, thank you.
There's some strategies that you can share to address the different levels. I know SIFE students come at different levels, right? Some of them might not have like even basic reading or writing skills in the primary language, and some of them might be a little higher. So how do we deal with that differentiation?
That's been an ongoing challenge. Small group instruction, volunteers, instructional aid, leveling materials, heavy scaffolding, lots of native language support, things like that. I'm so sorry, we're out of time, and I know Kava's going to kick us out.
I was just gonna
so I
say,
need to
no,
stop.
thank you so much, ladies.
Yes.
You guys were phenomenal. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on day 2 of our very first virtual conference. We're now gonna have 10 minutes for you to enter our closing session, and we have an incredible featured speaker today, Yuyi Morales, who's the artist that did our backdrops here. So if you can stay, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and thank you so much, ladies, again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For your
Have a great
conference.
one.
Be in touch. Bye.